One of my favorite places to go and hunt for retro video games in the Portland area is Tappe's Retro Games and Toys. It is an awesome independent shop located out in between Beaverton and Hillsboro. It's about a half-hour drive away from Portland, and it is amazing. All right, so the first thing you see when you enter Tappe's is they have a really amazing Game Gear collection and WonderSwan collection, and that they have restored. They've modified some of them have LCD screens and new capacitors. They also have some modified Game Boys and a collection of DS handhelds. The Game Boy section, the Game Boy Color section, some Star Trek Mego figures, and you can see the owner, Mark, who's actually working on my Famicom disk system. He's replacing the belt drive on it. There's a selection of accessories, a pretty extensive PSP section. I don't have my PSP anymore. I have a PSP Go, but I don't have a actual PSP. This is their expensive, their high item or high cost item in the case. Some newer Switch games, some more expensive N64 cartridges, toys just all over the place. Not only do they sell, and there's Mark, the owner, and he's trying to replace the belt drive on my junk Famicom disk system that he's attempting to restore and make no longer junk. He has some game systems. Oh, that is the cat bed. There is a store cat who's a very nice little store cat. His collection of consoles behind the case. A PC Engine with CD-ROM, which he's apparently testing some units on. A PVM monitor, which he's using as a display to test games on. We gotta respect that. A selection of items that he's recently purchased that he is pricing and getting ready to sort. This is a, I think, PC Engine memory bank. I think that's what it is, a battery powered memory bank for saving your UCard data. See a Game Boy printer down there. Looking at their accessories that they have, various accessories and cables and AC adapters that one would need for your classic games. I see the Hyperkin Cadet, the Hyperkin Scout, the Retrobit Sega controllers, pretty good. They're bulk memory cards, twin stick for the Virtual On for the Saturn, I believe. And taking a look at the more expensive case, they have some Godzilla VMUs for the Dreamcast. I see that Dragon Ball Z role-playing game, which I accidentally bought 3 copies for. I see Mario Artist for the N64 DD, and some boxed Nintendo games, some Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior games. I guess not quite Dragon Quest yet. Some more expensive higher ticket Super Nintendo, but I came here to check out the NES and the Famicom disk system. He has some Super Fami games, the Wii U, which is now most definitely a retro collecting system because it's out of print and the store has closed. A Famicom disk system cleaning device, 2 of them. Golf for Famicom. Mysterious Mura's Castle, I believe. I actually purchased that later on. Spoiler alert. I think a Mahjong game. Konami Pool. Exciting Pool, I believe, for Famicom Disk System. Nintendo Volleyball for Famicom Disk System. I need to get a copy of that. Nintendo Soccer. I believe Twinbee. Yes, Twinbee for FDS. One of these Sunsoft magazine games. I don't exactly know which one. A Mahjong game on one. Oh, Mahjong on one side, Nintendo Golf on the other. Nintendo Mahjong. Konami Exciting Billiards. One of the Famicom Japanese role-playing games, I believe. Again, a role-playing game, I think. I don't exactly know which one. One of the Nintendo role-playing games for the Famicom Disk System based on Journey to the West. Boy, there's so much Famicom Disk System stuff that we just never got and that I'm completely curious about or don't know anything about, like Mr. Gold. I don't know anything about that. Returning the Famicom Disk System games to the regular upright position and moving on to the Nintendo Entertainment System. 1943, I recently got a copy of that for Famicom. That is the really good version, or the really good game, better than 1942, which was ported by Tose. I see some bases loaded. Contra. I was always Contra $40. I'm tempted to get a Famicom version of that, but I haven't quite pulled the trigger on that yet. No pun intended. Gradius, one of my favorite Konami games. Spy Hunter, Fester's Quest, Dragon Warrior. Life Force, Ninja Gaiden. I was tempted to get that. I have all three of them for the Famicom, but maybe it would be cool to have in English. You know, for the story. The excellent cinematic cutscenes. A lot of copies of Super Mario 3, Unbundled Super Mario, Spy Hunter Super C. I believe I'm getting a copy of that from Japan for Famicom. Nintendo Tetris, different than the Famicom version. Always a lot of copies of Top Gun. I told myself I wasn't going to get back into NES cartridge collecting, and I ended up doing so. I was very tempted to get Ninja Gaiden, but I put it back. In the quarter, they have a power pad that one of these days I need to get. Moving on. Again, he just has so many toys and manga and awesome stuff. Always. It's a sensory experience, and you can't really see everything at once. It would take hours to go through, and so if you're going to go to Tappe'r's... Oh, there's the Super Scope. I've had my eye on that for a while, and today might be the day that I actually got that Super Scope. Nope, Ninja Gaiden, I put it back because I already had some Famicom copies of that. Ooh, now here's what's something. I have been looking for the copies, or the Arkanoid with the controllers, but before then, I thought I would take a look at the Famicoms. The great thing what he has done is he has labeled all of his Famicom and Famicom cartridges. And you see just cool stuff like a Japanese Saturn arcade stick in the corner. Taking a look at all the Super Famicoms. Final Fight 2, great game. I have that. He's labeled all of them, which Lord knows I wish Nintendo had done. Rushing Beat, Super Bomberman 2, Super Bomberman 5, Second Densetsu, 3, I believe. Super Mario RPG, you could get that, put it in a Retron, and get a translation version. A Super Game Boy 2, Super Game Boy OG, that's the one that I have, but I'm always tempted to get a Super Game Boy 2. I don't really trade Pokemon, but it just, all right. Looking over at I think that's Robo Lapus, a PC Engine Hue cards, and a Super System CD. Namco Baseball game, Namco Baseball. Power 11, a couple PC Engine Hue card games. I took them off and had to put them back on. Robo Lapus. I don't really know much about that. I'll have to look into it. Going through the Famicom. Let's see, Choplifter. So many baseball games. Dr. Mario. Excite Bike. F1 Race, great Nintendo racing game that did not come to the US. Load Runner, Mappy, Ninja Hattori-kun, Boxed DS, Yaer Kung Fu, great game. Willow in Japanese. Suinbi for Famicom. Now, I recently got some cigarette smoke-shaped cases, so it's interesting to see he had the yellow one. Next time I go there, I'm definitely going to pick up some of those yellow cassette cases. Let's see if he'd sell them to me. Star Soldier, Sekros, Pac-Man, Namco Pac-Man. Definitely should be in everyone's collection. Patchy Slot. Super Black Onyx. I don't know about that. That's one of the exciting things about still collecting Famicom. There's so much stuff that I don't know about. Import a ton. Oh, this is his new Geo CD section. I was actually pretty impressed to see just how affordable some of the Neo Geo CDs were. Samurai Spirits, aka Samurai Showdown. PC Engine CD-ROM. Next to the Austin Powers toys, PC Engine Hue cards. Bomberman on Hue card. Japanese PS2 section, Japanese Xbox section, Japanese DS. Just so many toys. Now this I was very tempted to get, and I've been looking for Arkanoid and the Arkanoid controller for both Famicom or NES, but is his Mega Drive section. Mega Drive not very popular in Japan. So it's harder to find some games. Excellent figures there. Looking at the N64, Mark of Tappe's also put labels on all of his N64 cartridges. Super convenient. Looking at his selection behind the counters, I see some Sega Saturn arcade sticks, Wii's, Japanese game pads, Mario Paint in the box, Jar Jar Binks, Super Scope in the box. He was trying to sell it to me, but I was more interested into having it loose. A plethora of toys, some amiibos. I have my Rob Famicom Robot, as he was known in Japan. Ugh, that's Super Scope. Very, very tempted by that. It had everything and was in great shape. That's the great thing about Mark. All of his stuff is in really good condition. A ton of N64. I have an N64. I have an EverDrive for it. I don't really collect the cartridges though. I do collect Super Nintendo cartridges, especially if there's a big difference between the Japanese and the US releases. ActRaiser 2. Sorry I didn't zoom in on the labels. This is my first time doing this. In the future, I will have to zoom in so we can actually read all the labels, and I will do some slow passes over them. So many sports games. There always are so many sports games. What am I pulling out here? Mortal Kombat 3. I was very tempted to get Mortal Kombat 3. I don't think it was ever released on Super Famicom. I know the original Mortal Kombat was, but I wouldn't mind getting that. I'll have to get that next time I come back. Taking a look at some of the games that he has bundled with manuals, and then going back over and checking in on Mark as he works on my belt drive. He swore this would be a really quick repair. I told him to take his time, and it ended up taking some time. I checked in on him, and he's still working on it, but he does quality work, and good work can't be rushed. Pretty decent selection of Xbox One. Then we got some lightsabers. Ooh, a really cool Xbox 360 messenger bag. I was tempted to that. I don't really collect for Xbox 360 anymore. His collection, a really good selection of Japanese Saturn games. Personally, I'm putting an optical drive emulator in my Saturn as soon as I get that shipped. Really amazing selection of Xbox 360 games and Xbox One. But I found myself drawn to his Sega Saturn selections. Pio Pio Sun. There's Mark working on the disk system. I'm talking to him while doing this. Virtual Fighter remix. Ooh, Darkstalkers, or Vampire Hunter, I believe that's the second one. sort of feel bad that I'm not going to collect Sega Saturn discs, but they're just so expensive, and an optical drive emulator gives me the chance to get all of them. He has a selection of Nintendo Powers, some gameplay manuals, looking at the OG original Xbox. I used to call that Xbox One, but then the Xbox One came out, so we have to call it the OG Xbox. Some Dungeons and Dragons. Really big selection of affordable Xbox One games. His PlayStation 1 long box games. PlayStation 1. Really awesome selection. Various Star Trek, Star Wars toys. Drum Master. Keiko O'Brien Star Trek figures, boxed Genesis games, more than just the Sega Sports titles, or the Madden Sports. I wonder if Sega knows that he is reselling some Sonic, not for resales. I mean, seriously, if they keep that up, Sega might get out of the video game business. Or at least stop making consoles. Taking a look at the Sega Genesis cards, the loose ones. Now, Marcy-chan is always on the lookout for Sonic on Master System. So I had to move a Star Wars VHS copy collector's edition to get to the Master System titles. A Retro 6, I guess we're playing Master System games on a Game Gear, a recent game accessory, very cool to see. And I had to work down to take a look at the Game Gear titles. Roston for Master System, really excellent version of that game. Looking at the loose cartridges for Sonic, didn't see it. And then his loose but with the manual Choplifter for Master System, that's a great game. Monopoly. I realized that Monopoly has mono-poly on the actual cartridge. It's actually Monopoly altogether on the manual, but on the actual cartridge is mono-poly, which I didn't know. Would be cool to play your Sega Master System games on the Game Gear if I ever get a Game Gear again. Boy, a little porg there, Lolthcat, returning the Star Wars trilogy. I didn't even realize that he had these bins of, I believe, Atari cartridges, Atari controllers. Atari 2600, including the ones made by Coleco. I respect Atari. I was always a ColecoVision boy growing up. My friends had Atari and the 2600. But my first game system was the ColecoVision, so I'm always interested in going through the ColecoVision games. Only had a couple that I didn't get. Gorf. I should actually check to see, do I have Gorf? Space Fury. I need to actually document my ColecoVision game, so when I'm out game hunting, I can check. I like to take pictures of my games, all my cartridges, so I'll lay out on the bed, take pictures of them, at least so I can refer to and so I can look on them and say, yep, got that one, don't need to get another one. He has a huge selection of PlayStation 2. This is his US PlayStation 2 section. Quite extensive, all sorts of figurines. Nightmare Before Christmas. See some Lego Star Wars in there. A framed drawing of Mark. It's just so much. Really phenomenal. Is that his PlayStation 4 selection, right? All sorts of figures, all sorts of strategy guides, getting close to the board game section. I mean, this book, I mean, this store, it's in a, you know, it's his home, that his bottom, the lower level is his shop, and it's amazing. There's so much good stuff there. We just passed the Rock Band controllers, the PlayStation 3 section. In the future, I need to go back and go through all of his selection of arcade sticks and maybe get an arcade stick for the Sega Saturn. I could see myself wanting to do that in the near future when I get my optical drive emulator running for my Saturn. I'm a fan of the internet meme of Keiko O'Brien has her shit together. So I was amused to see a Keiko O'Brien DS9 action figure. And the Power Pad. He had a pretty decent looking Nintendo Power Pad that I will definitely have to consider getting in the near future. Alright, moving on to the stuff that I actually purchased. I picked up the mysterious Murasame Castle for the Famicom Disk System. I look forward to playing through it and having a video for you in the future. I definitely had to get that Arkanoid for Famicom controller with the Arkanoid spinner and Arkanoid 1 and 2. And again, I'll have to do, you might see that in an upcoming video. And finally, I had to get that Super Scope. So now I have a Super Scope because I also have a CRT, and you'll definitely see that in the future. So Tappe'r's Retro Games and Toys is an absolute must visit when you're in the Portland area, and it is an awesome shop run by an awesome guy. You'll always find amazing stuff. They're great places to do repairs and mods, and really is worth the drive. I know it's in between two big retro game traders that probably get more of the attention, but gosh darn it, Mark is a really great guy, and Tappe'r's Retro Game and Toys is absolutely worth checking out. It's between Beaverton and Hillsboro, and I look forward to doing more of these game hunts, going around the local game stores in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you very much. It would absolutely help out my video if you would like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. I'm trying to get my subscriber count over 1,000. That would really help out this channel. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for sticking with me. I am new to this, and have a good one.